Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MTG Goldfish Commander Clash podcast, where we talk all things Commander. And today, episode 99, we are designing Secret Lair Universes Beyond cards. Our designs were such a great hit from the last Goldfish designer search. Wizards contacted us to design even more, and they gave us more responsibilities to promote the latest and greatest IPs from around the world that we boomers would enjoy. So today, join with me, Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive. How are you doing?
I am doing good. Excited to see some cool Universes Beyond cards.
And we have Tomer, Budget Commander. How are you doing?
I'm really excited. I love making custom cards, and this one should be. I have high hopes for at least one of these cards.
All right, the Agent Avenger Krim. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm excited to go over the cards I've made today.
And I am Richard, and I will guide you through this marvelous journey throughout the universes beyond. So, before we get into that, though, today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So, Card Conduit lets you skip all the typing, time, and work associated with buy listing. Their curated service lets you send in as many cards as you want with buy list value of $1 or more, and you pay just a 5% service fee. You can also use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards and only pay 2%. So you get a detailed report and fast payment once your order is processed, and you get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. So thank you, Card Conduit, for sponsoring our show. And you can also support us by liking, subscribing, and following us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. We're on all the normal places like Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. And check out MTGGoldfishMerch.com, where you can help clean out Richard's garage with MTG Goldfish branded merchandise. So let's get into our cards. So the rules are simple. We each have brought 2 cards each. There are 2 rounds, 4 cards in each round. We will put up a poll on our YouTube community tab where you can vote for the best card. So we only have one voting category this time, just best overall card. So let's kick things off with myself. So I've been playing a weeb game, Krim. Have you heard of Honkai Star Rail?
Yep.
So we've gotten even more casual. So I played Genshin Impact, which is like an anime.
Yeah.
Watered down Zelda, okay? And then now, that same company, after making billions, I'm talking like billions of dollars, like they're like they made billions off Genshin. Yeah. They made a new game called Honkai Star Rail using the IP of one of their previous games, and it's a turn-based RPG. It's basically Final Fantasy in a gacha game.
Oh, I've seen this.
It's so good.
Futuristic. It's meant to be futuristic.
I saw someone play this at a party. We were at a barbecue, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, I can socialize while playing this game because of like the auto battles."
Yes.
Like,
yes,
what's the point of the game if it plays itself?
It's turn-based, so you can stop anytime. Like I could play for like literally 3 seconds. Pause, do something, play for another 5 seconds. Like it is so casual and like new dad friendly. Like I love it. God. And then if I need to drain my stamina, I could just auto battle.
Oh god.
But anyway, my favorite character, the first limited 5-star, is Sele, Butterfly of Tempest, and I have made a card for her with a mechanic that I believe should be brought to Magic the Gathering, and that mechanic is called resets, right? Resets happen in a lot of games. Basically, you have some like big ability, and if you get a kill, it like resets the cooldown, and you get to do it again. So a lot of games use this to kind of like hype up, like, you know, oh, is he gonna get the first kill? If he gets the first kill, he's gonna like clean up the entire fight. Like Viego from League of Legends does this. This is how you get maximum like dopamine rush. And we don't have any reset mechanics in Magic the Gathering, so I've designed a reset card. So it's a Rakdos card, 2 black and a red. She's a human rebel. She's a 4/2. Menace and haste. All her colors are justified right there. Whenever she attacks, target creature can't block this turn. So almost a triple menace. And then Resurgence. Whenever an opponent loses the game, if they were dealt combat damage by Seele this turn, double Sele's power until end of turn and untap it. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So if you kill an opponent and Seele hit them, you get to untap and do it again, and her power doubles. So you can imagine a scenario where Richard's so far behind, and then she comes down, like picks off some person that's almost dead, doubles power, picks off the next person, and then picks off the last person. And one glorious turn, 3 combats later, everyone is dead. And that is the reset mechanic.
That is pretty sweet. What isn't there? Wasn't there a rogue that had a Demir rogue? What is it's a Crim card.
Ramsey's Overdark.
Did I just copy an existing card?
Well, no. But like if
It's not to this level.
It's not to that level,
Ramsey's
but it
Overdark
reminds
is like
me of that a little bit.
Yeah, if an opponent died this turn, if an assassin dealt combat damage to it, I think, then each opponent you control loses the game.
Yeah, so if you hit someone with an assassin, then it kind of... This has more of like the snowball effect to it that I think is really cool. And other than Ramsey's, there's like nothing even close to this in Magic. So I think it's a super cool mechanic. Would you play this as your commander, Richard? Is that what you're imagining? Like building around... Obviously, like the reset mechanics for multiplayer. Like in 1v1, it's not going to do anything. So it's designed for commander. Would you play it in the 99 or would it be your commander?
I mean, 99 for the surprise factor, but commander to be cool.
Yeah.
You actually just want to cast this at any time and try to pick off people. You can also go for the value, like just a value kill, right? Like you don't have to fully combo. But obviously with half the combo piece sitting in your command zone, people are never going to tap out. Right?
Yeah.
And there's incentives to like swords to save your opponent, right? Because you don't want the reset to happen. Right, so it's the same like in any reset game, right? League of Legends or whatever. You're like, oh, keep them at 1 life. Don't let them die and reset. You try to like keep the resets from happening. So I think it adds pretty interesting dynamics, and also every combat means one less blocker for you. So there's a world where one person has like 4 blockers, but then you just keep targeting that one person while picking off everyone else. So that person is incentivized to not let you kill the other people to get the additional blocking clauses. So I think it adds pretty fun dynamics.
What if I want you to kill 2 people and then I swords it?
That's right.
I mean,
you can, right? You can definitely do that, right?
It seems good.
And it would be
hatred.
unfortunate if we then played a blossoming defense or something. But, but like you could use the swords to pick off people. Like maybe you have a sword that someone can't block against. You can pick them off and then go to town. If you have 6 power, the third hit will kill someone, right? Because it goes 6, 12, 24. And as your commander, it's commander damage. So
yeah, you play it. You walk the tightrope and you let them kill 2 people, and then you remove it.
I really like it because my biggest complaint about Voltron strategies is that oftentimes you're going to be in a situation where you kill one person and then you get shut down, and then the game progresses. But one person's like left out for the rest of the game. And this is like a nice way of getting around that where, yeah, you can go with Voltron strategy if this is as your commander, but you can also kill multiple people pretty reliably. Like once you kill the first person, the second and third people are more likely at least to die soon afterwards in the same swing, in the same combat. So I like that a lot, and I think it's well costed, like 4 mana. We've seen Ramsey's Overdark is the other version of this that isn't the mirror that we've seen, and it has the same casting cost and similar power, I think. So I think it's more interesting though. I like this one more than that because the whole reset ability is very cool. So
I think the power level
approval.
The power level seems good. It seems like it's like strong enough to be played, but also not like, oh my god, that's so broken.
Yeah.
And good with hatred. Gonna cause a hatred.
Good with hatred, yeah. Great with hatred.
That's how I
not
evaluate
good
cards,
with
hatred
with
would be an auto include. Oh yeah.
It's an anime girl with a scythe. That's all you need.
Like I'm my roommate plays the hell out of this game, so I actually don't play it, and I don't.
Grim, you're missing out.
Yeah, but I don't play Genshin either.
Genshin's too hardcore. There's too much grinding in Genshin. This is like turn-based,
Just
chill.
play Diablo. Very, very not
That's the
dad
opposite of
friendly.
chill.
That's like not chill, not dad friendly.
Okay. Seth, what do you
Okay.
have for us?
So we know with Universes Beyond, there's really two kinds of Universes Beyond sets. One is 90s nostalgia sets, and we'll get to that in a little bit. The other is popular IPs that are like about a decade past their peak. So I went that direction, and we're going with Breaking Bad here, one of the all-time great TV shows. We're going with the protagonist, or I don't know, I think the protagonist, but we got Walter White here. So a top-down design that is showing Walter White's transformation. So we start off, it's MDFC. We start off with the front side. You get a 1-mana 1/1 legendary human, and that has an ability where you can pay an Orzhov hybrid mana and sack another creature, and it turns into a 3/3 human wizard. And then once it's a wizard, you can pay 3 mana, a black, red, and a Rakdos hybrid, and Walter White will turn into a 4/4 human rebel with an ability that whenever a creature dies, create a treasure token and a blood token. And then you get to the big payoff here. Pay 6 mana and you get to transform Walter White into Heisenberg. So Heisenberg is a 6/6. When it enters a battlefield, you blow up all the artifacts, and it also deals damage equal to its power to all creatures, planeswalkers, and players. And then when Heisenberg dies, you get a 1/1 human creature token with haste. So I don't know how many of you have watched Breaking Bad, but
oh yeah,
it starts off with Walter White's like this meek school teacher guy, and he's over the course of the series essentially corrupted and turns into this very murderous drug dealer. And that's what the card's trying to represent, is starting with that. He turns into something that profits. You can see all the money he makes with the second level of the front side of the card, where he's making treasure tokens and blood tokens, but always all the abilities involve death. It's always someone's dying, someone's being murdered or hurt, and that's really the trajectory. And then finally Heisenberg destroys everything, all of those around him, all the artifacts, and because it's a 6/6, it actually destroys himself unless you have some shenanigans with the backside. And then you wipe out the board and you get a 1/1, which is supposed to represent Jesse, the one person who kind of like escaped the carnage at the end end of the final destruction. So I think it would be a pretty cool commander. I don't know how good it would be. I don't know. What do you think of the power level of this card? Like, is it... Well, where's the power level at? There's a lot of text, but that's also very Watsy these days.
I think it's high because I actually don't care about the backside that much. I care about the second activate ability when it turns into a human rebel with base power and toughness 4/4, because it's essentially that reads as like a better pitiless plunderer, where like whenever it's for pitiless plunderer, I think it's like 3-drop or a 4-drop, but it's like a aristocrat staple. Where whenever a creature dies, you could make a treasure token. But this time, you're making not just a treasure token, but you're also making a blood token. So you can like easily make infinite mana and then cycle through your entire deck to win the game. So the fact that you're making both a treasure and a blood makes it much like it makes it very, very powerful. But it is limited to Mardu, and it costs 2, 3, 4, 5 mana total for all that stuff to happen, and you have to sacrifice a creature. So I think it's fair, but it's also like that ability is like the really that's a strong part. That's a part where like if I'm in any Mardu Aristocrat deck, this is like an auto include, I think.
So that's actually a concern then, because if you don't want to actually get to Heisenberg, it kind of defeats some of the flavor of the card. Like if that ability is so strong that you're just going to camp out on human rebel mode, that kind of really defeats the top down design. So maybe that ability has got to be like on the little bit weaker, or maybe it's just like a treasure token or something.
Well, but the thing is, like, wouldn't Heisenberg be the side where you would get the treasures? Because I feel like he's at full profit when he becomes Heisenberg.
That's true.
Right?
There could be
like the backside should have more treasure stuff incorporated to it, right?
There could be a way to do it that way, where instead of like getting a human token or along with the human token, maybe you make a treasure token based on the amount of things that were destroyed or whatever. Like you could go that direction.
You can like get like I think at that point like you could just get rid of the 1/1 human, because that way if it's Secret Lair, they're gonna do a whole set. They're gonna do all the characters. You know, Jesse's already gonna
get his own card.
Right. So you just scratch that and you make his backside more treasure heavy, death. Even like think of like the super aristocrat Drain Lord. Make it like that.
What do you think, Richard?
Yeah, I think you should have a treasure payoff as the backside. Like if you have like 20 treasures or more, or something, you win the game or something like that.
Ooh.
And then you can like sack 10 treasures to wrath the board or something. Like, I don't know, something like, you can not win the game by using some of those resources to control the board. Like basically what he does. I feel you need to sack more stuff on the way though. On the way to Heisenberg, only one creature dies.
That's true, right? But then
the first ability, I feel more people need to be dying along the way to Heisenberg, and you need more money.
So eventually he starts like profiting off of like the idea was like people die, and then eventually he powers up to the point where he's like profiting off people dying, and then he goes too far and like destroys everything and himself essentially at the end. That's what
Wizard
I was going for.
Is there there's no alchemist type, right? All the alchemists are wizards.
Yeah, I wanted like a scientist or an alchemist, but they're all the chemists or scientists wizards. In Magic are all wizards. So that was as close as I could get. Like the creature types, I think Rebel's okay, and then Horror's okay for the backside. But I wish there was something more like science-y for the first creature type.
I think Heisenberg could drop Horror and just still be human wizard.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? Like when I think horror, I then start diving into like the supernatural. That's why though.
Okay, maybe it has supernatural connotations.
Like Yawgmoth is still like a miserable person, right? Like he's a villain
until
right?
he turns into like a flesh monster.
Yeah.
So,
until
like,
he actually becomes
just
a flesh monster.
Human.
So
you can also have a voting mechanic with this card where you go around the circle and everyone chooses Heisenberg or something. So you force people to say Heisenberg, and then they like join you.
That's actually hilarious, and I would love that.
I think it would be a good choice, especially because it's like a decade old. Like, perfect.
What do you think of it destroying itself? That was my other question. Like, I feel I like the flavor of it, but it certainly like decreases the power, I think.
I don't think you need to like add that, right? Because naturally when you flip to the back, if you make Heisenberg make treasures, do all this stuff, it's very flavorful in itself. Everyone's gonna want to see your downfall, right? Because you're expanding, you're doing too much, so you don't even need to have him destroy himself.
So you're gonna have the rest of the table. They're gonna do the destruction.
You can what you can do is you then give the rest of the table treasures as well, and then there's like a reason for like it'll punish them for having treasures, which will force them into using those treasures into killing Heisenberg, right?
Remember a New Capenna where wizards made meth or something? What was that?
Oh, Halo. Yeah.
Halo,
Richard. Very much not
Halo.
Yeah.
Halo.
Should we add some Halo to this card here?
It's essentially, just a New Capenna card,
Oh my god, this is when wizards made meth.
And that's why we didn't get a spoiler card.
All right. Next up, we have Grim. What did you bring for us?
Well, so like 90s, Seth said, a little bit of nostalgia or things that are 10 years past its prime. Well, luckily, this anime is so old that it was popular, it was huge, that it went away. But then now there's a resurgence of love for it again. It's Yu Yu Hakusho. It's back. And I've been now seeing, like, it's probably because everybody that was a weeb got older and they still love this show. And, like, so I made the main character, Yusuke Urameshi on the front side. And Human Demon, right? Because he has to be. 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, exile the top 4 cards of your library. Put a spirit counter on them. Then his signature move, you couldn't tell by the little glowy finger, it's called Spirit Gun. And you tap him, remove a spirit counter from a card you own in exile. Yusuke deals damage equal to the exiled card's mana value to any target. You may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. If you own 2 or less cards in exile with spirit counters on them, transform Yusuke. So I'll go over the front side first. So his thing is he could only shoot 4 shots of his spirit gun at the very beginning until he trains and becomes something else, right? So I figure, all right, well, how do we best represent the spirit gun and give him 4 shots? So let's have it so that he exiles the top 4 cards and you may play them in case you hit lands, right? It could be terrible. You may deal 0 damage with them, but if you get some sweet spells, you can pick stuff off and you get the value of getting that spell. And then once he's out of spirit counters, or lower spirit counters, he flips to the backside, which is when he eventually goes into the demon arc where he becomes Mizoku form Yusuke, where he finds out his dad is actually the demon king, right? So, and that's where he sheds his human typing and just becomes full demon. And that's when he has hexproof, vigilant, lifelink, double strike, haste just because why not? And then Demon Gun Mega is the upgraded version of Spirit Gun, where now you exile target instant or sorcery card in any graveyard. When you do, Mizoku form Yusuke deals damage equal to 3 times that card's mana value to any target. Copy that card, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. The backside is meant to be, before anyone says anything, yes, it is a huge win more, and it will win you the game because that is Yusuke at his most OP form, and it does dunk one person, right? It's meant so that he swings, he can fight, he can do damage, he goes to combat, and then he can tap himself to kill somebody else. Because he is just so efficient, and that is when he's at peak power. So that's the main character. I had to make it at least flavorful, and I really leaned into the flavor here of this character. Richard, I think maybe you've seen it. I assume, Seth, I'm just going to answer it now. No, he's not in the
Nope.
He's not in the X-Men. And
I haven't seen. This is one of the few like classic animes that I did not watch. What is the TLDR
Anime?
of the series? They're like demon hunters? What is...
This is the show is the wildest thing ever. It starts with a kid who dies and comes back, like a high school, he dies, but he comes back to life, right? Under the conditions that he is willing to be a spirit detective. And it starts off as a show where he goes around just hunting demons and whatnot, right? To rid of those demons in the human world. And it's weird because it starts off as this like kind of ghost detective show, and then it shifts into a battle shonen because it's in the era where battle shonens become big. Yeah. So it goes, and then when it shifts to that, it's the most iconic tournament arc in all of anime called the Dark Tournament. And so that's when he's fully in the demon realm, fighting in tournaments. And then after that arc is when he becomes, well, you see the backside Mizoku form where he becomes purely demon, and he's actually like his father is the demon king.
So how many hundreds of episodes is this?
It ends. This is the beauty in it, though. Like the problem with most anime is that people don't understand that it can end. And it did. It ended at 113 episodes.
Okay. It's better than One Piece. Okay, wait,
yeah.
Rank it amongst your shonen anime. I need to know if this worth my time. Number one.
This is my favorite shonen.
Above Dragon Ball,
Dragon
above
Ball,
Naruto,
garbage.
One Piece.
Dragon Ball is garbage compared.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna get a downvote bomb.
No, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna say right now,
we've lost all of our viewers instantly.
This is better than Dragon Ball by a landslide. It still holds up. If you go back and rewatch Dragon Ball, 99,000 things are like problematic. And then on top of that, it itself is also just not that good of a show. Like, I appreciate what it did for the genre.
Let's keep it back on track. Let's keep it back on track. All right.
So that's where we lose
all our viewers. The podcast is canceled. Let's get off. Let's go. We don't like Lord of the Rings. We don't like Dragon Ball.
I like Lord of the Rings. All right. I like Dragon Ball.
Oh my god.
This show
is this card not just OP?
That was my gut instinct. Is like
you
this
use
is
it twice
so
and it
broken.
becomes like unremovable. It's like hexproof vigilance lifelink.
Well, casual hits for 18 damage, lifelink vigilance hexproof.
The backside is meant to be.
Wait, it has double strike. Yeah, it's 18 commander damage.
The backside is meant to be.
Why does it have just trample? Give it trample too.
No, we don't want to have a trample now. You can
block. Yeah, can't be blocked. Can't be blocked.
You can be OP, but you can't be 4 mana and OP like this.
I don't even. But you gotta remember, like, okay, outside of being you do some kind of untapping shenanigans, right? You have to untap with it. You have to remove, at least get 2 things out of exile, and every time you cast him again, it adds 4 more to exile.
Oh,
it seems like
true, but like
it's so swingy.
It's either like you just like crush everybody, or it's like the worst card, right?
Yeah,
but it's not even the worst card because you can cast a spell for free. Obviously you're going to be putting haste, and you're going to do untap effects, and you're like likely you're going to drop this immediately, cast 2 spells for free, and then flip him
immediately, not immediately.
Yeah, if you build a deck around him,
yes. If you have
you're gonna put.
ideally,
if you have him as your commander, you're gonna put in first things you're gonna put in is haste enablers and untap effects, and so you're gonna play him. You're gonna cast 2 spells for free. You're going
hope so.
You're going to then hit somebody with an 18/18, gain 18 life. And then just nug somebody for like a bajillion damage.
Yeah, so the backside is definitely meant to be OP as hell, like to the point of hilarity, and to the where, like, because it is the shonen way, right? Characters.
I think you need 4. You need to like do 4 on taps with him, and then maybe it's okay. Your anime ended too soon, Krim. You need to stretch it for like 5 seasons where he keeps charging up the spirit gun.
No, that's annoying. That's why I hate Dragon Ball. Like.
Isn't that all shonens though? Like, isn't that like tune in next week when we'll see if Yusuke
actually ever uses his
punch
move.
This guy in the face or not?
I mean, this one he does it right away, and it's a great show.
Wouldn't this just like immediately be the number 1 Grixis commander by like a long like? I feel like it's just too much.
Is this because like okay? So I think that if you answer him, you remove him. He has to be dealt with, right? Like, he has to be dealt with. This is a commander that you just cannot let sit.
You have to have an edict. Exactly, edict, because it has hexproof on the back.
But he's also in blue,
side,
so it's like...
Well, you gotta, like, that's the thing. You gotta kill him before he gets to the Mizoku form.
But how... I feel like what if it wasn't legendary? Like, I'm worried about it being the commander, I think, is what scares me, because then you can build a deck around it. So I feel like you just build a deck where it's, like Tomer said, it's really consistently going to hit that backside, like, and be hard to stop, because you got all the free counter spells and all the, fierce guardianships. So I feel like it maybe is easier. I do like that if you do stop it, it becomes much harder to do in the future. But I'm worried that the first time is going to be really easy to do if you build your deck around it.
If your commander dies and they're like, well, I guess my commander is garbage now.
Is it garbage, though? Because
think
about it. Think about it. You're still using the Spirit Gun ability. You're still getting cards.
Yes, that's true. It's not...
So, like, it's not like, oh my god, this card is now just literally dead to me, right? And
you're still going to find their haste and untaps. I don't know. I feel like maybe at once a turn, maybe you're allowed to activate this ability once a turn. So at the very least, like, you give the table, like, 1 turn to deal with this.
You're going to have 2 turns like, this is one of those ones where, if you play it, example, it's like, if I play a commander, I know it's going to draw the hate from the table, I'm not going to be surprised when they kill it. Same deal here, right? Like,
but if somebody has even if somebody has an instant speed removal, which is not guaranteed, even if somebody has an instant speed removal and you just have like a counter spell or something, and then you just go on and just wipe the table with this, I don't know. It seems too much. Something has to,
or maybe it's just, maybe
you
mana.
need to play Fog, but even if you play Fog, the Demon Gun Mega will still kill you.
Well, that's it right there. The Demon Gun Mega has to happen because that's
maybe just remove Hexproof and it's okay. Maybe remove Hexproof and Double Strike.
I mean, I think we haven't even really talked about you're casting anything for free. Like, you just like brainstorm omniscience to the top of your deck, and like we're talking about flipping and all that stuff. You just give a haste and put omniscience on the top of your. It's spells, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. It is free. I
so we're like
that way
we're kind of missing that. Like, even if it never flipped, this card would probably be ridiculously rusted with Brainstorm or Scroll Rack or Vampiric Tutor or something. Just like free Omniscience on turn 4 with haste or whatever.
And you deal 10.
And you deal and you deal 10. I don't think we even read it. Yeah. I think this card. I love the flavor, Krim, and I like that you're going for powerful, but I would be scared if this card actually got printed.
Like I like everything about it, but I think something has to be tweaked so it would be less completely oppressive at table. Even just keep that backside.
You will not be tweaking it because he is perfect. He is OP.
What? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that is the anime way, right?
Okay. Next up, we have Tomer. What do you have for us, Tomer?
All right. I'm also banking on nostalgia, but also on something that is actually topical now, believe it or not. is Sonic the Hedgehog. So the Sonic franchise first started in the early 90s, I believe, or late 80s. I'm not quite sure. But it's an incredibly powerful, very, very popular IP. It's the mascot of Sega, the company. And so there's a lot of nostalgia for like 90s boomers who have money now and would love to spend money on nostalgia childhood pieces. So that's good. But this is even better. There's recently been a big resurgence with Sonic, the franchise, because of a very successful movie series. We've had 2 Sonic movies. They've done very well in the box office, and they're already slated to have a third one, I think, in like 2025. So we already have like an upcoming tie-in for the secret lair coming up. So Sonic the Hedgehog, this is my pitch, and I hope that it also ruins Legacy at the same time, which is a bonus. But I'll get to that later. It's a blue and a red, so 2 mana for a 1/1 with haste. And whenever Sonic deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you, then you take the initiative. And when Sonic dies, if Sonic is your ring bearer, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So what is the flavor behind this? So the game of Sonic, if you play a Sonic game, what does Sonic do? Sonic races through a bunch of levels and eventually reaches the final level, beats the final level, and you win the game. That's the simplistic approach to the video game. And what does Sonic do in the level? Well, Sonic collects rings as he goes along the tracks. And as long as if he takes damage from anything, he will lose all his rings, but he will still live. But if he takes damage when he doesn't have a ring in his possession, he dies, and you have to start the game over from the beginning of the level. So we see that in the thing where if he dies, but he's holding on to at least one ring, he comes back onto the owner's control. And, he takes initiative because, he's speedy and he's going through levels, which are dungeon rooms. Bam! Sonic the Hedgehog.
The flavors, I like the flavor. I wish you got Monarch on there somehow just to have full-on Tron. I was thinking
like maybe you get like a sticker when you finish a dungeon or something. Like you open an attraction, because I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I think it's hilarious. I also love that you made it so the ring tempts you. Like, you managed to bring in the Lord of the Rings there.
I don't know if I like the crossing of the streams here. Like, Sonic just pops into...
Why not?
Middle Earth grabs the ring and leaves.
His ring can open up a portal.
It's
Why
Universe is Beyond. We're using the mechanics everywhere. I just thought it was cute.
If Doctor Who can also be in the same universe as Lord of the Rings, why can't Sonic go to Middle Earth? Just a little blue flash in the background while they're like doing the battle at the 2 towers.
I'm trying to think, Tomer, is there any way that you saw to go infinite with that last ability? Like, if there was like when something ATBs, whatever, the ring tempts you, wouldn't that just be like infinite sacrificing of Sonic? Like, is there some loop that you've thought of or no? That's the only thing I've been thinking of.
But that is interesting.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Yeah, the ring is such a new mechanic. I'd have to look it up.
There might be like a Bilbo or something that does that. But I wasn't thinking that. I was more thinking like, because like as long as he holds onto one ring, he can come back. But when you leave the battlefield and come back, you're no longer the ring bearer. Right.
So you would need like something that made you the ring bearer again when it came back into play.
Yeah.
But maybe that was my only concern. Was there like some easy infinite combo? Otherwise, it seems like a pretty good design of Sonic.
Can we build Hedgehog Tribal?
Do we have
hedgehogs?
That's where you get Knuckles. Wait, no, Knuckles is an echidna. There's Shadow. There's Shadow the Hedgehog.
Wait, but then I would want Chow Chows in these.
Oh, I would go for a Knuckles expansion. Remember? So now for your real boomers out there that played on Sega Genesis. So with Sonic and Knuckles, they gave you like a cartridge that you could like combine, like a Voltron cartridge, and you stick them both together and play them. So I'd like to see a mechanic where you take like 2 EDH decks and just mash them together. You have a 200 card deck. That's your Sonic and Knuckles deck. That would be amazing.
Does this break Legacy?
I hope so. I don't know, but I thought it would be
combat damage though to take initiative, so it might be a problem.
Yes, but the ring gives you like pseudo evasion. You can only be blocked by creatures' power. Like you can't be blocked by creatures' power higher than.
So it could only be blocked by one.
But you don't have the ring power yet, right? So when you first cast it, it's just a 1/1 haste, and you have to hit someone to get tempted and get initiative. So if they stuff that, then you're in trouble. but
then you just
them,
have a 1/1. Then it
But
snowballs.
you can pitch as a force of will.
You can pitch it. It would probably be fine.
It pitches the Fury.
I mean, I'm hoping that it breaks Legacy, because how funny would it be to just be like, Initia's broken again,
around.
and it's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, they would be so Legacy players. Oh my god!
Everybody's like taking out their Delver of Secrets
It
for
needs to
Sonic
steal
the
Soul
Hedgehog.
Rings off the battlefield.
It should be able to steal a Soul Ring somehow. but like that's hilarious. I'm glad that you used the ring temps you. I misunderstood the assignment. I thought it had to be in the same series. I originally had Shang-Chi with the ring tempting people, right? But then I was like, I want to do like all from one series, so I chose another thing.
That's fine. We'll get to it. But we'll go to Richard's second one, though. What do you got for us?
I love this artwork, Richard.
All right.
What is going on here?
Speaking of 90s nostalgia,
my
we
God.
still play this game. Okay? We got StarCraft, but like
Heck
the
yeah.
OG StarCraft. Like not really. It's Brood War. Okay, let's not. The perfect version is Brood War, but it applies to all StarCrafts, and people don't like losing to unorthodox strategies. And before we came up with no stacks, no control, no whatever in Magic, we had the no rush, no Zerg rush, please, which was a strategy that you use in StarCraft. So normally when you play StarCraft, right, you play lands, you build SCVs, workers, you like ramp up, you like make resources, and then you start building an army. So after turn 5, 6 or something, you start making stuff. But you could just actually start making an army in the very early turns and take your army and all your lands they can attack and just go to your opponent and like stuff them. They're not ready. They're in the middle of casting like rampant growth and you like own them. So that is Zerg Rush. And the strategy in the original StarCraft was a 4 pool. You build 4 drones and then you build a spawning pool, which lets you make Zerglings. So Zerg Rush costs 4 mana. You get to play 4 lands, and then you play Zerg Rush. It's an enchantment. You can't play lands. No more lands. You're all in.
Yeah.
When Zerg Rush enters the battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create 8 1/1 green Zergling creature tokens with haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, starting with you, each player may have all lands they control become 2/2 resource worker creatures until end of turn. So turn 4, you play this. You take all your Zerglings, you start hitting people. Next turn you untap, you take your lands with you, and then you keep sending until people are dead. And then your opponents can also hold all their lands back and then take them to defend. And they're not lands anymore, by the way. So you can't like defend and cast a spell end of turn. So so if your SCVs are off the mineral line, they're not mining anything, okay? So to me, this encapsulates aggro. It encapsulates the all-in aspect. You can't play any more lands. You're going to take your lands and attack people. And people can defend by taking their lands and defending. The lands will eat the Zerglings, and they'll trade with other lands. And then if you're sneaky, you can try to tech after you do the Zerg Rush. You maybe play a Soul Ring, get to 5 mana, play a Coat of Arms. People are really dead if you manage to do that. Or I don't know, you cast a Triumph of the Hordes. Maybe you can try to cast some spells, but you can't play any more lands. And if someone wraths the board, like a clean wrath, like an Ondu Inversion, an Hour Revelation, and you're just behind everyone. You just have 4 lands, but you keep playing the game, right? So yeah, I think we need more cheese. We need some aggro cheese in Commander. What do you guys think?
If you're trying to do aggro cheese, don't you want it to cost less?
I was thinking we can make it cost less, but then
it makes
it's like really you can't kill people because they're at 40 life. So I'd have to give like a lot of power at like 2 mana or something to kill people.
I mean,
yeah. Like,
isn't it?
I feel like the Zerg should be like 3/3. That's what it feels like to have Zerg Rush, though, right?
Yeah, but like they don't scale well. So once people are actually putting real army units on the battlefield, the Zerglings are like, wow.
Yeah, that's why you make it 2 mana and you.
They go wide, so if you have like a 1 Pelucanos or something, it's like useless, right? Because the Zerglings are going around it.
Yeah, you're getting 8 each turn, right? 8 hasty 1/1 each turn. That's a lot of power. That's kind of like in Commander. I think it's good. I'm a little scared of like would this break Legacy or something? Like, is this a card Wizards wouldn't print because you just like play this and hit rate and then hit rate and then you win?
Do it. Break Legacy.
I just realized this is at the beginning of your upkeep.
You keep getting 8 more.
They
keep
coming.
You
get 8.
They set the rally point right into their mineral line.
Yeah, they're going.
They're
this card is
nonstop.
This card's like legit, like especially I think if you put it in a blink shell, that's where it's like super strong. Where if you could blink this a couple of times, then you'll just like first it enters the battlefield 8/1/1s with haste. Then you blink it, you have now 16 power of haste on the battlefield. So I think this card's like super gas, but it's also incredibly flavorful because it's exactly how it works in StarCraft. And like your opponents have to pull their creatures just to live, but that means they're not making any more mana, they're not farming resources, so it's just like chaos. And
if you can blink it, you get around the land drawback too. You just blink it and then make your land drop, and then have it come back into play if you can like flicker it. Yeah. The design's super cool. I think
it also confuse everyone. You fake attack and then you just pyroclasm. They animate all their lands in preparation for your attack, and then you just pyroclasm them.
I don't know.
I would turn on your lands.
Oh, what would you?
You don't
suggest?
have to.
I don't know if I would. Yeah.
I think you would. So if you have 4 land, like if you don't have blockers, I think you got to turn on your lands because you can block
stop
the
Zerg
Zerglings favorably.
Well, if it's 1v1, then yes.
Well, no, because you need to pass the turn.
Yeah.
Essentially to block, right? Because your lands are no longer creatures, so you can't end of turn. Like you can't instant speed cast spells after blocking. So you need to just keep them up. So there's some strategic element here on how you want to handle this Zerg rush.
How big of a drawback is not being able to play lands? Like that's pretty big, right? Even in green where you can still ramp lands, like it's still a pretty meaningful drawback.
I think so.
I think not being able to, what was it, aggressive mining?
That's the right one.
Right? Like that's what I was thinking of. I'm like, okay, I remember that card. I couldn't play lands then.
That one sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it in Zedru because we give it to people.
Yeah.
What
was your suggestion, Tomer? You said you had a suggestion.
Maybe instead of resource worker creatures, it's just drones, because I know drones is already a creature type in
but
Magic.
SCVs aren't drones, Tomer.
No.
That's true. What about probes?
Yeah, because if it was just Zergs, I think the Zergs are drones, right? But if it's just like generic worker, then you have to be worker, resource worker, something like that.
Yeah, I did think about that, though. I was like, how do we get everyone else?
Yeah. I like it. I think it might be busted in 1v1, but I think it's not busted in. I mean, it's really good. It's play strategies.
We'll play test it in Legacies.
Yeah. No, just ship it.
I think they could be 2/2s. Every turn you just get a bunch of 2/2s, dude. Just make them 2/2s.
My original iteration was to make bigger creatures, but then they wouldn't be Zerglings, because I was like, okay, you get like two 6/6s or something. But then there'd be Ultralisks or something, and then I didn't like the flavor of it.
Those are
they're the
boys.
lowest. Yeah, right. Because each egg has 2 Zerglings, as opposed to like every other person that like makes one for one, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you make them 2/2s, they're still small enough, but also enough of a threat to where I think it would now kind of make me actually contemplate, am I going to turn my lands into 2/2s? Right? Like, because I do need something to stop the damage.
But then you don't want to trade your lands. So you can't do that. You'd have to make the lands bigger, I guess.
The lands would be 3/3s or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just like in real StarCraft, the resource worker will beat a Zergling 1-on-1. Like you will win.
Oh, that's true. It should be bigger than the whatever number you make the Zerglings, but I think that it has to be enough damage to make you actually have the opponents want to animate their land.
Well, it'd be 8 plus 16 after like 2 combats.
Right.
This snowball's pretty hard. 8, 16, 24. That's a lot of 1/1s. You thought Scoop Swarm was scary.
Any token doublers too. Like it's just like cool.
Just one Pyrohemia away from disaster, though. So
I like that it supports aggro. That's cool. We need more aggro in Commander.
Yeah.
All right, Seth.
All right.
What do you have for us?
We got more 90s nostalgia. This is I don't know how many of you played NBA Jam back in the day, the classic Super Nintendo game. So yeah,
no,
Sega.
Nintendo.
I think it was SNES. Yeah, Super Nintendo. So in NBA Jam, it's this basketball game, but kind of one of the goals is to get on fire, and the announcer's like, "He's on fire," does the cool announcer voice. But to get on fire in NBA Jam, you got to make 3 baskets before your opponent makes a single basket, and then once you're on fire, you're like going off. You can like barely miss. Everything's awesome. So my card is another MDFC. The front side is a 1-mana enchantment called Heating Up, and it's a legendary enchantment, and it says when a source you controls deals damage to an opponent, you put a fire counter on Heating Up. But when a source your opponent's control deals damage to you, you lose all the fire counters on Heating Up. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 3 or more fire counters on it, you get to transform it into He's on Fire. He's on Fire is still a legendary enchantment, and it says if a source you control will deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 3 instead. And then boom shakalaka is the flavor text, of course. So the idea is, it's trying to replicate, trying to get on fire in NBA Jam, where you got to make 3 baskets before your opponent makes 1. So that's why you lose all the counters. If you do get to that point, you get an enchantment that essentially lets you just make 3-pointers nonstop, and your opponent can't really stop them because you never miss, is what the flavor of the backside was going for. We've seen some kind of similar cards, like Torbrand gives your red sources plus 2 damage. That's probably like the closest comparison. I think the upside of Heating Up, well, for one thing, it doesn't care about being a red source or anything. Any of your sources of damage will be doubled. It's also really cheap. It's only 1 mana to get it started, although it's going to be a little hard probably to flip, especially in a 3-player game. Like, if one opponent hits you, it undoes the whole thing. And remember, you got to make it until your upkeep for it to flip. So you can't just like get the 3 counters and immediately flip it. It's got to make it back around the table. I guess you could try to like throw bolts at your opponent's face on someone's end step or something, but your opponent's going to turn around the table to hit you and remove the counters before you get the backside power.
Unless you can block.
Yeah, I think it's like really easy to get 3. Like there's like 101. We were like doing. I know Krim brought what's it called, the Obnixilis Sky, and I think Seth even played Obnixilis too. There's like a bunch of cards that are just like deal 1 damage to each opponent. So there's like Pyrrhemia, and there's like 1-drops that even do it. It's like they tap and it deals 1 damage to each player.
You can play pingers.
So like that, any of those activations will suddenly put 3 counters on Heating Up. So it's very easy to set up a situation where your opponents basically must deal damage to you on their turn, or else it flips over.
If this was like combined with like Reckless Fireweaver, 1 artifact then means you immediately get.
Yeah, or any of gutter snipe effects and stuff.
You can get the counters really easy. I mean, you can attack with 3 1/1s, like a Hordeling Outburst, and get the counters. The more challenging part, I think, is not taking any damage a turn around the table before it actually flips.
You're thinking sorcery speed. Do instant speed, right? Like Thermal Alchemist and like a shock, and you're done.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? Just end of turn.
Yeah,
like,
but then you're playing Thermal Alchemist and shock in your commander deck.
But then Thermal Alchemist deals 4 damage once this thing is flipped. So you actually want to be playing Thermal Alchemist with this deck, right?
So do you think
these like really bad pinging things turn
the pingers become
spicy? Maybe if it was like it only triggers if it's on your turn. If it only triggers on your turn, then it legit gives your opponents a turn to respond before you flip it. It's like whenever a source you control deals damage to an opponent on your turn, put a fire counter on it.
Yeah, you could do it like that.
And then I think it gives your opponents that dynamic that you want, where it's like, okay, I hit you, it's gonna flip. What are you gonna do about it? Can you defend?
Although, like Torbrand comes down from your command zone for 4 mana and does most of what the backside does immediately. If you're worried about like pingers and stuff like that, like Torbrand's plus 2 damage for 4 mana, and you don't got to do any work or anything.
But this is 1 mana, and it's an enchantment, so it's harder to remove.
Yeah, but it's not your command zone. You got to actually draw it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I love this. I think this card is great. I mean, maybe because it's using NBA Jam, and on top of that,
the flavor's great.
The flavor's great.
I thought of it this morning, and it was too late to change it, but I probably would have put damage can't be prevented on the backside, because that would have been flavorful for...
You can't gain life. Players can't gain life either.
Yeah. Do you think it's too strong then? Is that the consensus, that it's too good?
Maybe it's fine. Maybe jumping all those
hoops.
It's just a better,
is that another
slightly better Torbrand.
Yeah. I don't know. I would make it either 2 or 3 mana, probably 3 mana. personally.
It could make it,
or I'd make the thing sorcery speed, because I think it is more fun that like your opponents have a chance to actually stuff you before you can go on fire.
I like that idea.
Being able
too.
to do it at instant speed kind of removes that, and then I would keep the cost the same. But I think it's really cool. I think it's a really cool card.
I actually like the your turn restriction, because that is kind of how it works in NBA Jam. Like, it's unlikely you just like get 3 baskets in a row and go on fire. Your opponents, you actually have to stop them too, and they have a chance to like defend it. So.
Yeah, when you score a goal, right, you give the
other team gets the ball
now,
and
right?
they get a chance. So. Yeah, so I like making sure the opponents get a chance. I might add that.
All right, Seth, is this the greatest NBA game they've ever made?
As far as I'm concerned,
2K23 or whatever. No, we don't play this. We play NBA Jam and Tecmo Bowl.
Yep. Oh yeah, Tecmo Bowl Jackson. No one could stop him. Yeah.
I literally play 2K all the time, but I still love this game.
Yeah. I mean, 2K is good too.
Have they not rebooted NBA Jam at all? Like
there's been some like PC versions, I think, or like mobile versions. But yeah, it's 2v2.
2v2. Yeah.
It's like was it originally an arcade game? I feel like it was originally an arcade game, and then it went to SNES. Yeah. But
I don't know if it was originally an arcade game, but I do remember seeing NBA Jam in
I remember that too. It's my favorite NBA game. It's just like super fun. If you don't like basketball, you probably still like this game, because it's just like you get to push people over and you're like jumping and doing all these like wild things. I
remember my favorite game. I don't watch NFL at all, but there was like NFL Blitz or something.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, this is like the basketball version. Yeah, of just like
where the farther you run back, the farther you throw the ball. Like that.
Oh, so good.
All right, Krim, what do you have for us?
Well, it's going to stay in the realm of Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'm going to put somebody who is on Team Urameshi, initially his an enemy, or what was perceived to be an enemy, and then a friend. Shuichi Minamino, which is the front side. That's his human form. So his thing is he's all about plants and roses and all this other stuff. So his front side, human demon 3/3 with haste, with his special ability, Rose Whip. Rose Whip cuts people in half, so target creature's base power becomes half of its power, and its base toughness becomes half its toughness. Round up each time. When that creature dies this turn, transform Shuichi. And then, so that's when it becomes the big bad, his inner demon, which is Yoko Kurama, which is a fox demon, and also has super wild, like plant abilities and whatnot. So what I wanted to make sure he was very plant focused, and that's why other creatures you control are plants in addition to their other types, because that's just what he does. He makes everything into like plants, anything, right? And so one of his moves, Ojigi Plant, which is plants you control get +2/+2 and have first strike death touch. I based the backside off Rick from Walking Dead, right? And then but then I also added his move that he used one time in the anime, because it was so powerful, but you never saw it again. It was only once, and it was Death Tree, and that like is one of the coolest moves in the show, and so that's why I had to include that in here, because it kills one person, guaranteed. So I had to make sure there was an ability in here that killed one person. And Death Tree is 4 and Jun, tap it, search your library and or graveyard for any number of lands, exile them, then shuffle. Yoko Kurama deals that much damage to any target. So you could just literally exile all the lands, Death Tree one person, make them very sad. But the point is, that's a message. Like, you very much so have wronged me, and I'm going to Death Tree just you, because I can't go Death Treeing everybody. Unless you play 99 lands, then that's fine. But yeah, like
you can exile 30 lands, probably 34.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe
the spite play Krim ability.
It is the biggest spite play you can make, and it kills only one person. And
but I think this one's balanced, actually. Like the front side is easy to flip, but like you have to kill their creature somehow. So you're going to use a removal spell with it in tandem, I assume. So you're using a removal spell to flip this creature. And then it has to untap, and then it gives an Anthem effect. But Anthem effect isn't like, it's very good. Like, it's very hard to attack into that player, obviously, if they have any creatures on the battlefield. 7 mana is very spiteful, but I mean, we have like Beamtown Bullies, which is already much more spiteful. So I think this is absolutely fine.
Pumps up your dousing dagger plants.
Does and the thing is, I made sure it was other creatures because Yoko around him makes everything plants, but he himself is not. So it had
they all get first strike and death touch.
Yeah,
so they're untouchable in combat.
That scares me.
You can't attack them. You can't deal with them in combat.
But you can't
all
attack
creatures
or
are also
block.
plants. So all your creatures
can't block or
are
untouchable.
So don't you just like stall out forever and then kill someone if anyone tries to interact with you?
Well,
with the last ability.
You mean someone that you would spite enough to death tree?
Yeah.
I guess you could just hold up the mana, right? And just be like, don't do
Yeah,
it. I'll just
I guess,
instant speed.
But like Yoga doesn't have hexproof or anything, so you can actually deal with the flip side.
You definitely have to kill it.
He's meant to just be
so if someone fires removal on Yoko and you death tree them, they die and their spell gets removed off the stack.
But like simply,
but you can't do that again, which is flavorful.
like you do it to one person, right? Like, and on top of that, it's 7 mana, right? It's 7 mana, and he himself does not have haste or anything like that.
But you're agreed.
So
you're good.
So like
well, he taps for his first ability at the very least.
He does. His front side does, because front side Shuichi is mostly known for his speed, his agility. I mean, technically Yoko also has a ton of speed, but he also usually stays planted, grounded, if you would, and has a bunch of plants around him that protect him. So
why does he have fox ears? Why does he become a fox when he transforms?
He's a fox spirit. He's a fox demon. That's like I can do the in-depth version, but essentially he is a fox demon. So that's all.
A fox and a demon love each other very much, Richard.
Yes,
all right?
That's how. And I can explain the birds.
Does he have
and the
9
bees.
tails? I don't know what's going on.
Does not. But I think this is so the backside is modeled after Rick. That's what I wanted it to be. And the only difference here is because plants are such a obscure typing in Magic. I wanted to give everything the ability of being a plant.
I mean, compared to Rick, isn't this like amazingly supercharged? Like Rick is just humans get +2/+2, right? And this is all your things are humans. They all get +2/+2. They all have first strike. They all have death touch. This is like about 4 Ricks put together, I think.
But is
I guess. I mean, it's meant to be powerful, right? Like, it's definitely meant to be very powerful.
I think I worry about first strike and death touch. Like, have you ever played against a Glissa? My God.
Yeah.
Like, even just a Glissa makes it impossul to, like, play a game of Magic. I worry about it until you're bored being
that.
You're
gonna have to let it slide.
What about
you're losing to that in combat every time.
how do you kill the player that has this card is the question. Like how do you deal?
You need to
kill the card.
Cast like Swords to Plowshares. They death tree you, and then you Teferi's Pro. That's how you get.
Teferi's protection, the answer for everything.
But I mean,
it always comes back to Teferi's Pro.
What if I told you before this there were more keywords?
This is the soft version.
This is the balanced version.
Wait, there's a third side to this, actually.
Yes.
There's a third
First
one.
triple face card.
I'm surprised. You all made so many MDFCs. I'm surprised they'll give it like a 3-faced card here.
Just a small pocket of the bottom right card. No,
We learned nothing from WotC design, where we're like, the Strixhaven Deans are too much text and everything, and then all of us just brought two-sided.
It makes me feel a little sympathetic for them, because it's so easy to be like, oh boy, I can add this one last cool thing that like makes it, even more flavorful, and then you end up where we are now.
Well, to be fair, we don't have any editors on our show.
That's true.
We have nobody saying, but what if you tried doing it on one card instead? What if you took out half the words?
Well, you see, Niatuk helped me with that one. So
yeah, Niatuk gave me crap for mine too. That's why I gave one single-sided card.
I think that this is definitely going to be very powerful. But yeah, I think it's flavorful, and don't let them get to 7 mana. Just don't let him get to 7 mana. And
kill him first.
At the very least, you can kill Yoko. So
at
the very least, it doesn't have hexproof.
Here's the deal: the commanders I've made are going to incentivize people play removal. so Richard can't absolve, like be like, oh,
what?
I
I'm
don't
just
need
Teferi's
swords.
pulling out of here. What you treat me? I don't need removal.
He's gonna make like a tree and leave.
Oh god. Oh, next.
All right, Silver. What's the last card you have for us today?
All right, so we're tapping. Well, a lot of us are just boomers, apparently. So I got one for the boomers, but most importantly, also Krim, because he's going to be judging me as well. We got Corrupted Ashbringer and Ashbringer. So in World of Warcraft, very popular franchise even to this day. It's like 10 years past its prime, but even with its prime, it has millions of subscribers and it makes a lot of money. It's like the most profitable franchise for Blizzard by a long shot, and they have like the Diablo series and everything.
But the better MMO is Final Fantasy 14.
Yes, but also, most importantly, since it's old, it has people like the same age demographic as Magic players, which means boomers with money. So this is a great demographic to tap into, and a lot of cross platform support because it's like fantasy and stuff. But anyway, World of Warcraft has many powerful legendary weapons that are very iconic. Maybe the most is Frostmoan, but my favorite is Ashbringer, which is this really powerful, holy symbol of the Paladin class. And the story of it was made to be a rival to the powerful necromancy evil sword Frostmourne, and it was made to like just destroy the undead scourge. And whenever the wielder would like swing it around, he would just like leave this big aura of like a wave of holy energy that would just like wipe away armies of undead. And that's why it was called the Ashbringer, because it only left ashes in its wake. But then it got corrupted. And then it got better. It got healed. So it kind of shows the story of that. Corrupted Ashbringer, 3 mana, legendary artifact, equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has lifelink. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 black skeleton creature token. Then if you have at least 15 or more than your starting life total, you may pay 2 white. If you do, transform Corrupted Ashbringer, and it has double black to equip. So this is like when it's corrupted and it's being used by the undead army. It's not as strong as its normal size, but yes, it makes some skeletons, and then eventually it's given over to this holy paladin who cleanses it with powerful white mana, and that shows the 2 white mana you have to spend. You flip it over, Ashbringer. It's now equipped creature gets +5/+5 and has lifelink. And whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy all creatures defending player controls. Equip 2. So it kind of follows, like it becomes like a supercharged weapon, probably the most powerful equipment on Battlefield, but you have to do some hoops for it. There it is.
I love it. I love it. Front and back. Love it. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I also think the idea of the double white and then also the double black cost to equip, and then I love it. I love all of it.
I think the black mana keeps its power down a little bit, which is probably a good thing. If you think about Commander, like, because of color identities, you can't play in any of the Boros equipment decks, right? You have to be like pretty specifically, I guess Sir Gwyn is a popular equipment commander that's in those colors, or like, I guess it's maybe white black life gain decks might actually be a better home for it than equipment deck. So I like that it's an equipment that doesn't just go into like, oh, whatever the most popular Boros equipment commander of the week is, because they always print another one every set. So I really like that aspect of it. I think it's a fun design. I don't know if I like my board getting blown up repeatedly, but
well, simply
55 life
good in Soul
like
Sisters.
No small task. Like you need like actual life gain to get here.
Yeah, like the ideal situation is you're like above the threshold already, or like you're going to get it, and then you have to play the Ashbringer, equip it, attack, don't get blocked because it doesn't give evasion or anything. And then when you deal combat damage, you pay 2 more mana and you flip it. And then the next time you attack, anytime you equip anything onto this, you're wielding the freaking Ashbringer, so everybody's going to be in pain.
Yeah. The backside's definitely really powerful, but it seems like you have to jump through enough hoops to get there that it's probably fine.
I didn't make it colored either. Like, it has a color restriction, so it's only Orzhov. But I had a different version of it that was like black on the front side and then white on the back side. But I actually hate colored artifacts a lot because they work so poorly with swords. Like, all the sword of X and Y cycle doesn't work with it. So I'm like, I hate these equipments that are all colored. So I was
you
like,
can't be dual wielding like Ashbringer, anyways.
Can't you though?
What's the Hearthstone equivalent of Ashbringer? Did they ever bring
there
it
actually
to the game?
literally is Ashbringer and Corrupted Ashbringer. It's just a 5/3 equipment with no text on it. I actually just
I literally took the
Wait, there's
artwork from
equipment in
that.
Hearthstone now?
Oh, it's
Well,
not.
Because they're like
it comes
weapons.
from-
Your heroes get to
Oh,
mess with
yeah,
them.
okay,
Yeah.
I knew that.
I stole the artwork from the original World of Warcraft TCG that was before Hearthstone. It was like a paper TCG game. And then they actually reused the Ashbringer art for Hearthstone. So there you go. A little lore tidbit.
It's a sweet card. Good with
Just
Cauldron.
make skeletons tier 1.
Skeletons aren't very good at gaining life or Zov,
What's
right?
the lore of making a skeleton token out of this? Why do you
So
get a skeleton
when
token?
when the Ashbringer got corrupted, it actually got taken over by the enemy, which was the Scourge, which are like the undead evil faction. And the person who was holding onto the Ashbringer was a Death Knight, and the Death Knight is allowed to create undead minions of his own. So skeletons was the lowest tier. I thought maybe you can make a zombie as well, but I thought skeletons would be a little bit lower, and that's fine.
All right. And the final
then
question is, would you put this in your Cauldron deck?
Of course.
And would this automatically be
Oh,
the best
actually, it
equipment
wouldn't
in
fit in my
your
Cauldron
It
deck
would-
because
it
it's
wouldn't
black.
work,
Yeah.
Thing. I would make a
Are
new
there
deck.
any good Orzhov Voltron commanders?
Arden and a black partner.
Yeah,
I
Arden
guess.
and random black card is probably...
Sir Gwyn would like it because it's Mardu.
It's
Right.
I
probably
don't know. Eventually, there'll probably be an Orzhov commander that's equipment.
It's perfect for. There's a lot of Orzhov life gain commanders, right?
I think
Karlov
Orzhov
and stuff. I think
would be-
that's like the most obvious home, I would think.
You still need evasion for it. That's the main thing. That's all.
Yeah, it's a cool card. I like that one.
Wait, you don't need evasion. Why would you
Yeah,
need
Well,
evasion?
you got to connect
just-
for combat damage to flip it, right?
Oh, to actually flip it. I'm like, the
Yeah.
other one's just attack trigger. The one where you
Yeah. Well, once you got the Ashbringer, you're rolling.
You're
But,
good.
Yeah. There's no
All
more
right.
blocking there.
So those are the 8 cards we've expertly designed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 MDFCs, guys. I know.
There's a problem there.
You burdened our
We
editor
really-
during previous season by MDFCs with like the most dense text you've ever seen.
And I made him do 2 versions for me.
We technically did, I think, like each like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 cards,
Yep.
and then Richard adds his in, so and then Tomer's 1, so that's really like 13 cards.
So many.
We're no
so
better.
much
We're
text.
complaining about how many words are on every single card of Magic now, and look at us.
Yep.
We're no better.
Yep.
That's because we got used to it.
Hypocrites, all of us.
We
Yeah,
got
hypocrites.
comfy.
We'll use our viewers as the editors. Tell us how to simplify the designs while keeping the essence of the card. See if we
Add
can
4 more
knock off-
sides.
Just split it across 4 cards, okay? Okay, so we will have a post in the community tab of our YouTube channel. You can go and vote on which Universes Beyond Secret Lair card you would shell over the big bucks for. And yeah, let us know what you think. What IPs are you excited about? Which boomer IPs are you not excited about? Maybe we've gotten old. Maybe there's only so many times we can milk NBA Jam, Seth. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Actually, yeah, no. Is there an arcade one-up of NBA Jam? They like release like these mini arcade cabinets, like 3/4 size. And they just
Ooh.
keep releasing like 90s arcade machines, and
I'm
they
gonna
keep
have to-
making a new Street Fighter every year. Like every year, there's like a new Street Fighter. It's like Championship Edition, Turbo, whatever. Like every year,
Oh,
like
like
how
Street
many
Fighter
times can
2.
you milk Street Fighter 2? We'll find out. But yeah, let us know what you think, and give us a grading on our design. Should we be hired by Wizards of the Coast or no?
I've already
Wow,
accepted
we'll have a
it.
poll.
I
Yeah.
know.
I've already signed the NDA. I'm out of here, guys.
My cards
I think I
are
broke
perfect.
NDA by showing you the Sonic Universes Beyond when it comes out with the 3rd movie. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So let us know in the comments, and then we'll see you all back here next week. See you.